Imagine knowing that within hours you would be dead. No appeals, no escape, no second chances. Throughout history, some of the world's most feared men faced that reality. Dictators, mass murderers, tyrants. Men whose decisions changed the course of nations and cost millions of lives. And before the end came, many were offered one final privilege: a last meal. Some chose comfort. Some barely ate. Some spent their final hours in complete denial. These are the last meals of history's most evil men. The most hated man in modern history spent his final meal listening to artillery shells destroy the empire he had built. April 1945. Berlin was collapsing. Soviet forces were closing in from every direction. The Third Reich was finished. For years, Adolf Hitler had promised victory. Now he sat trapped inside a bunker beneath the ruins of Germany's capital. Witnesses described a man who looked exhausted and physically broken. His hands trembled. His health had deteriorated. Reality could no longer be denied. On April 30th, Hitler reportedly ate a simple vegetarian lunch consisting of pasta or noodles with a light sauce and vegetables. No celebration, no grand feast, just a modest meal, eaten while the world he created collapsed around him. Afterward, he met briefly with staff members and dictated final instructions. Then he and Eva Braun retreated to a private room. Moments later, a gunshot echoed through the bunker. Hitler had shot himself while Eva Braun consumed cyanide. The bodies were carried outside and burned according to his wishes. The man responsible for World War II ended his life hiding underground as his empire turned to ashes. One of the most feared men in history may have died because everyone around him was too terrified to help him. For nearly 30 years, Joseph Stalin ruled the Soviet Union through fear. Political opponents vanished. Millions entered labor camps. Entire populations lived under constant surveillance. On the evening of February 28, 1953, Stalin hosted a late-night gathering with senior Soviet officials. The group ate and drank for hours. The meal reportedly included wine, mineral water, meats, bread, and traditional Georgian dishes that Stalin enjoyed. The atmosphere seemed normal. Then Stalin retired to his private quarters. Hours passed. Then more hours. No one entered. No one checked on him. His guards were afraid. Years of terror had taught them that disturbing Stalin could be dangerous. Nearly an entire day passed before someone finally entered the room. They found Stalin lying on the floor. He had suffered a massive stroke, unable to call for help, unable to command anyone, unable to move. The dictator, who controlled millions, was suddenly powerless. 4 days later, Stalin died. In a cruel irony, the culture of fear he built may have contributed to his own death. Hours before his execution, Saddam Hussein reportedly sat down to a simple meal and calmly prepared for death. For decades, Saddam ruled Iraq with absolute authority. He survived wars, assassination attempts, international sanctions, and countless political challenges. But after the 2003 invasion of Iraq, everything changed. Captured while hiding near Tikrit, Saddam eventually stood trial and was sentenced to death. Reports indicate that before his execution, he was offered a final meal that included chicken, rice, and hot water mixed with honey. Witnesses later described him as calm and composed. The following morning, he was escorted to the gallows. Video footage captured the event. He recited prayers, exchanged final words. Then the trapdoor opened. One of the Middle East's most powerful rulers ended his life standing beneath a noose. One of America's most notorious serial killers shocked prison officials with his final decision. Ted Bundy spent years terrorizing communities across the United States. After numerous trials and appeals, his execution date was finally set. As was tradition, prison officials offered him a special final meal. Bundy refused. Rather than requesting a feast, he declined the privilege entirely. As a result, he was served the standard prison meal. According to reports, it included steak, eggs, hash browns, toast with butter and jelly, milk, juice. Bundy barely touched the food. Outside the prison, hundreds of people gathered. Some celebrated, some held signs, some treated the execution like a public event. On January 24, 1989, Bundy was strapped into Florida's electric chair. Minutes later, one of America's most infamous serial killers was dead. One of America's deadliest serial killers spent his final hours eating fried chicken and strawberries. For years, John Wayne Gacy appeared to be a successful businessman and respected member of his community. But behind the public image was a horrifying secret. Between 1972 and 1978, Gacy murdered at least 33 young men and boys. After his conviction, he spent more than 14 years on death row. As his execution approached, prison officials offered him a final meal. Unlike many condemned inmates, Gacy chose foods connected to an earlier chapter of his life. His final meal reportedly included a bucket of Kentucky Fried Chicken, French fries, fried shrimp, fresh strawberries. Some accounts suggest he chose KFC because he had once managed several Kentucky Fried Chicken restaurants. The meal was ordinary. The man eating it was not. On May 10, 1994, Gacy was escorted into the execution chamber. What followed was unexpected. A chemical reaction caused problems with the lethal injection equipment, delaying the execution and prolonging the process. Eventually, the issue was corrected. Minutes later, John Wayne Gacy was pronounced dead. One of America's most notorious serial killers had eaten his final meal, and his story had finally come to an end. History remembers these men for war, for murder, for terror, for suffering on a massive scale. Yet their final meals reveal something strangely ordinary. A plate of food, a drink, a familiar comfort. Simple choices made by men whose names became synonymous with evil. No empire lasts forever. No ruler remains untouchable. And no matter how much power a person once held, eventually everyone sits down to their final meal. The only question is what history remembers after they're gone.